about that time.
It's that time, dog.
It's about
It
that time. Go
is
time.
that time. Everybody know. Shoot, we missed out on him last week. We
He was
had
in
to
Vegas.
hold it down for him. That bad, bad man that come all the way from the highs of Seven Hills. We may know him as Coach K, but we know him personally. And y'all know welcome the basketball finest, Coach
What's happening, people? What's happening?
K.
I'm loving
So,
that March Madness vibe, man. How we doing, family?
so we doing real good, man.
Fantastic. How are
That's
you,
great.
Coach? You was
Great.
out in Vegas
Yeah,
last
yeah.
week,
I
living
been
it
living
Hey,
the
up.
best life a little bit. Had to take a little
spending that
break.
Yes,
money.
But
yes.
nonetheless, been checking out all the March Madness action. Had the luxury of obviously being there in Vegas and looking at multiple televisions. Being able to catch all
Mm-hmm.
the games at once. So it was a very fun experience. Which y'all got? Oh yeah, I know y'all been checking out the tournament, man. I mean, who's our favorites? Actually, I want to go back to last week though, Ryan, before we dive in, because
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
said something about this Jackson State University women's basketball team,
And
and I didn't
did.
say they would be a 16 seed or a 15.
Mm-hmm.
And they went and they conquered. Obviously the tournament played out, and you know what happened in that game. And Ryan, I'm not trying to jump to things or whatever, but it was really atrocious. I'm just gonna put
Mm-hmm.
it out there like it flat out is, as my grandmother would say.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson State went out there and played a heck of a game. Beat that SEC opponent for 4 quarters, gave them everything that they could handle, but at the end of the day, they did not walk away with the victory that they rightfully earned and deserved. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Coach Reed and that team. Excellent job, excellent season, excellent legacy. Jackson State, if I'm you, I'm trying to find my checkbook right now. I'm just being real.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a
Mm-hmm.
hot commodity, if not the hottest commodity in the country in women's basketball right now. Coach
Mm-hmm.
Reed made a statement after that game in that press conference that I'm talking about. She touched hearts.
Yeah.
She touched hearts, and her passion truly came out. And I don't want to take y'all back because I've been around this basketball thing for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Reed was at Hines Community College prior
Yep.
to Jackson State.
Yes,
And
he is.
what she has done in that time, it's a reason why she's the top commodity in the nation right now. And she rightfully
Mm-hmm.
deserves it. And I just had to put that out there, Ryan, to kick off the night, man, because I'm very proud of her, that team, what they're doing for HBCU sports, HBCU basketball. It's just phenomenal, man. And to go out there on that court in LSU, and compete in the way that they did against a number 3 seeded team, it's just outstanding and a lot to be
Yeah.
said for it.
Definitely,
Absolutely. They were not
definitely.
prepared. I don't think LSU really knew until they really started playing, and they said, "Okay, we have to recoup. This isn't for play. And we were just talking about this, how people have this negative connotation because it's an HBCU, or it's a lower ranked team, so we're just gonna come in here and blow you out. No, baby, they came in and they stepped just like how you said, Coach. And I do want to ask you a quick question. Just thinking about it may not have been victorious, but I still, at the end of the day, felt like they were victorious in different ways. The fact that they held their own, and the fact that they did lead over a number 3 seed team. How do you think that they could be able to take this, get their minds right going into, the next competitive season? How do you think they should be able to capitalize on an event such as this, being able to go through that experience competing against LSU?
So what most people will probably tell you is that if you look at Jackson State University, oh, they're building something special.
Hmm.
Building
It's already
has
built.
been currently happening. Okay. But let me help you understand something. Jackson State has been doing this. It is now
Hmm.
just on a national stage where people are recognizing their greatness. It took them to go to the tournament a couple consecutive times for people to understand what this team is truly doing in HBCU basketball.
Correct.
I think that whatever the DNA is that has gotten them to this point, they keep doing what they're doing. Obviously, as I
Hmm.
said, since the very first time we did the show this year, they got a pro down there on the
Yeah.
block wearing that number 4 jersey. That's a pro.
Hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully everybody saw exactly what we've been talking about for the entire basketball season the other night. Because the girl
Right.
can flat out go against
Mm-hmm.
whatever competition. We were just
Mm-hmm.
very fortunate to have her in HBCU sports at Jackson State University. So as
Mm-hmm.
far as Jackson State and Coach Reed, I mean, obviously, the old saying with coaches right now, especially with the transfer portal, was the number one player that you have to recruit is your own players. I
Yeah.
would advise to Mr. Ashley out there at Jackson State University to recruit your own coach. Because
Right.
she is such a high commodity. We always look at what the team can do, and next thing if you look at the coaching carousel the last 3 days, we was talking about all these pieces, but the masterpiece is now gone. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure that we take care of home first. And then we look to see how we continue to build onto that program. They got a lot of great pieces already in place. I mean, a couple young ladies on that roster in which I recruited that I know can flat out go has been doing it since high school, but they were
Yeah.
playing against all Americans, first
Right.
all conference players. So now they're going to
Yep.
get their shine and their opportunity. So just keep building it, man. I'm a Coach Reed fan right now. I'm rocking with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just mentioned there were a couple of young ladies on that roster that was doing a phenomenal job. One of them being Maya Crump, the leaders scorer for the game. Do you feel like when down at the wire, she had the technical free throws that she missed both? Do you feel like at that point, was there almost too much pressure she was putting on herself, where there wasn't enough focus on being able to get into to her craft and being able to make those shots? Or do you feel like it was just so much going on? Like if you were in that predicament, you would have did the same thing. Like, what are your thoughts based off of that?
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that was a very unfortunate situation. I
Hmm.
can't say if it was, a lack of focus or overly focused or any
Yeah.
of that. I mean, it was crunch time moments. I watched the game, I believe it was last night,
Mm-hmm.
with some, PWI institutions that the same thing happened. They're on the line. It was the underdog. I forget exactly who it was, but the underdog was on the line. They had, to make basically two shots to give themselves a 4-point advantage with little to no time left. And unfortunately, they just were not able to pull it off. So, I mean, it happens. You know what I mean? It's a reality of the game. And unfortunately, that did not happen for that young lady, but not to take away what she did, over the
Hmm.
course of that game in that 40-minute period.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, they're coming off, although again, when they weren't as victorious as they had hoped to be, but they had a phenomenal season, being victorious throughout the entire season. Do you think that they're going to do it again next year? Do you think they're going to come back and even get better, moving forward? Or do they need some time to readjust, figure out their next culture? Some seniors are graduating, some things are being moved, incoming freshmen are coming in. What are your thoughts for them going into next season?
To answer your first question, yes,
Mhm.
on one
Mhm.
condition: to keep Coach Reed around Jackson, Mississippi. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, if you looked at Texas Southern, Coach Cynthia, she retired. That was a team certainly on the rise, but also a team that was very senior heavy. You look around the league and you look at these different teams, and a lot of them were senior led. You look
Yeah.
at the Alabama States of the world. And another thing too that I want to bring to everybody's attention is that 23 year that nobody wants to talk about, the elephant in the room, is coming, which means
Mm.
the days of COVID years are over. And
Yeah.
so recruiting is going to look a little different than it's looked over the past 3 years. And how
Yeah.
coaches recruit is going to look a little different. So as long as Coach Reed is still in play, with what she's done with that program and the respect that she's kind of garnered there over the course of the past couple of years, absolutely. I guarantee you they'll probably be favorites to repeat.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. And let's talk a little bit about Howard. Unfortunately, they didn't have their best game against number one seed South Carolina. Give me your thoughts. What are some things before we dive into? We understand that they lost and everything, but let's talk about some things that they actually did well in this game. What do you think?
Gotcha. Well, I mean, one thing I've always liked about Howard and what their coaching staff does well is they keep their team together. Howard
Yeah.
always has chemistry. I don't care what the situation is, they do that and they do that well. And I mean, that
Mhm.
doesn't just it's not a front. You can't fake that. That's something that, those players are bought into the process. They're bought into those coaches and doing the right
Mhm.
thing. Unfortunately, for Howard, they did face a very, very tough battle there, obviously in the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament. the
Correct.
number one team in the nation, and things did not go so favorably. But for them, I will say this too. It's kind of like when Jackson State first got in there the first time. We took some lumps, took some bruises.
Hmm.
How are they getting their feet wet? It's a lot
Yeah.
of kids that saw the tournament for the first time ever. And again, unfortunately, we're put against the number one team in the nation. And, hey, real recognize real. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of young players out there, obviously got it done for them in the MEAC. And I see them continuing to do great things in the MEAC, but that MEAC is going to also continue to be a competitive conference as long as the MEAC is able to sustain their teams. But that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm very proud of Howard, man. Coach Ty Grace has been there with that program. She's really built it up. She's trained her players. She got arguably one of the best assistant coaches in the country there in assistant coach Brian Davis. They do a great job. They're going to continue to
Right.
do a great job. They do an excellent job in recruiting. They tear that Newport News, Virginia area up, that Boo Williams area up. They're going to continue to do a great job. So I see
Yeah.
continued success out of Howard University women's basketball.
Yeah. And we know that Howard is a completely different team from JSU, but they have the competitive grit to be able to compete at that level. So what do you think is when we're comparing, a little bit of what JSU style was going into their game, and to Howard, what are some things that you feel like Howard can kind of learn from JSU, based off of the two games that they both had?
Gotcha. Well, I mean, with Howard, they have to continue. I mean, it's recruiting.
Yeah.
They lost a player that went to Syracuse that
Mm,
was a lights out shooter. I mean, and the girl was 6 foot tall. You know what I mean?
mm,
Long, athletic, and could flat out shoot the ball. Shot the 3-pointer over 40% in the MEAC.
yeah.
So
Wow.
those are the type of players that they're trying to replace. As far as other intangibles for that team, look, I'm gonna tell you, like my man at St. Peter said about his men's program. If you look at Howard Ross, you got a lot of young ladies from the DMV area, and that's for those of you
Mhm.
that don't know, that's DC, Maryland, Virginia, and you also
Mhm.
got New York. And so I don't think they're too worried about anything as it relates to grit. They gonna get it. You know what I mean? They're gonna play physical. I mean, even if I'm not mistaken, Coach Todd Grace might even be from New York. So that's
Right.
just kind of in who they are, their DNA. Just like I said, recruiting is going to be huge. Obviously, for this upcoming season, the landscape is still going to look very, very different. You see less and less high school players being recruited, unfortunately, and more going towards that transfer portal. And I mean, right
Mm.
now, it is like Walmart would sell with everyday low prices. I mean, that transfer portal is getting to it out there right now. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out as far as recruiting. It's one thing to get all those pieces, but it's another thing to get those pieces to mesh. And
Yeah.
and that's always going to be the task. What happens between August up until November in preparation for season.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about the men's side. We had TSU versus Kansas. They did fall short, 56 to 83. Do you feel like TSU definitely played the best that they could be and just was outbeaten, or do you feel like they fall short, on some things that they know they could have done better?
Well, we've all seen TSU, and we know that they're a better team than what was displayed out there. Look, they've done a really good job. They have been in that hunt the entire season. Up there in that top
Hmm.
3, 4. It's a shame, unfortunately, that obviously they did lose that game, but I
Yeah.
mean, in a lot of ways, they beat themselves. Um,
Hmm.
that's one of the hardest things for a coach to say, but it's a reality that
Yeah.
happens. And too many turnovers, too many things forced. If they could go back and replay some of that, I bet looking at film, they're probably just beating themselves up. Like we know
Right.
that's not who we are. We know that's not what got us to where we were.
Right.
So I mean, they're going to go back to the drawing board too. I mean, that's what great
Hmm.
teams do. They're not going to sit there. I mean, yeah, we're going to grieve, but we ain't going to lose our belief that we're going to be great, and we're going to get back
Right.
to the drawing board, get back in the lab, and we're going to do the work so we can get back to where we belong.
Right. Same thing for Norfolk. They had such an amazing season going in. Got defeated by Baylor again. We're highlighting these are some powerful teams that they're playing against. That doesn't go unnoticed. But in your opinion, where was there, I guess, the lack of grit as opposed to kind of like what we talked about with JSU leading and they actually were able to capitalize, on that aggression against LSU. There didn't seem as much. I don't want to say passion, because of course the guys were passionate, but I didn't feel that much of aggression for the guys as much as we saw with the girls. Do you feel like that was a lack there, or was it there and it just wasn't connecting with the team to be able to come out on top?
Gotcha. Well, for me personally, if you tell me I'm going to play against the number one team in the nation or the defending national champion, in which two of our HBCU schools saw, um, me personally, I'm going to eat off that. I want that,
Hmm.
but I'm also have matured, have played the game, coached the game for a number of years, and we're not going to go
Hmm.
into my age, but I kind of been around the block a few times. When you
Okay.
talk about an 18 to 22-year-old, all right, freshman in college, guess what, baby? We're going to play South Carolina on the women's side. Well, guess what? We're
Yeah.
going to play the defending national champion at their house.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see how this thing's gonna play out. I mean, you're rattled. That's just the reality
Yeah.
of it. We can sit here and try to, say that doesn't happen, this, that, and the other. But man, when them bright lights come on, baby, it's time to show up and show out. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, too often we're just not able to be, successful there. And look, maybe that goes back to, and I'll say this: I know Coach Robert Jones does schedule a very competitive non-conference schedule, but I would
Yep.
say that's one of the things that we would definitely want to continue to look at. Prior to
Hmm.
coming on, I heard you guys talking about, and I'm assuming this was more or less on the football side, but money games and things of that nature. Well,
Hmm.
it definitely, the money is needed. I mean, in regards to the money games and things like that, but also give yourself to get some good matchups, to face some styles, some teams that you might not typically face in our conference. We know that the SWAC and the MEAC is scrappy. They're going to get
Hmm.
out. They're going 94 feet up and down the court, baby. They're coming for you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Now let's go out there and let's go see a South Dakota who
Hmm.
everybody's at and shocked and surprised. Let me tell you something. South Dakota been out here doing this. If you watch
Right.
them play basketball, this is what they've been doing. They are
Yep.
probably arguably one of the most skilled teams in the country. I mean,
Hmm.
everything they do is a clinic. I'm sitting here just breaking it down piece by piece, coming off the screen. Where they're pulling up, reading the defender, they're too far in the paint. This is my pull-up spot. Or, I mean, they're just so skilled. It's very dynamic. It's very great to see.
Right.
But South Dakota, I look at our schools no differently. We're a mid-major as well, and we have the opportunity to go get some of those players and develop in that way. Um, so I mean, as far as Norfolk, they're going to continue to do great. Again, it's one
Right.
of situations where as long as Robert Jones is there, they're gonna be great
Hmm.
because he demands excellence in every single thing that they do. And that's
Absolutely.
what he's going to recruit, and that's what he's going to maintain in his program.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where they go from here. Sometimes we need that little bit of adversity to grow from.
Yeah, that's a huge point. The adversity piece definitely is. It's gonna light a fire in them because they know they can do it,
Mhm.
right? And it's only gonna motivate them to move forward. So yeah, absolutely. Congratulations to those teams for doing so well throughout their season. Now for the fun of the conversation, not to take away from
Roland,
our.
let me cut you off right
Oh, go
quick.
ahead, Ron. Take it.
Yeah, because I missed Coach last week. I missed Coach last week. I'm gonna just get into Norfolk and the LSU game and JSU coach. For Norfolk, I know one of their players, one of their best players, was sitting out that game. Would you have think, or would you thought, or like, would that translate into their slow start of not getting the buckets they needed? Because like at first, it looked like they looked like a Hellcat at first, Norfolk. Like they
Mhm.
was coming out, they was playing defense, they wasn't scared. Then they started to wind down a little bit. You could see like the engine slowed down because their best player was out for the first half.
Hmm.
Off of, team aggressions coach, the player didn't follow by the rules of what he laid and he had to play the second half. So the team winding down and you don't have your best player in there, could have been a factor for Norfolk, giving up that lead, or letting Baylor score that many points in the first half. Could have it been a better game if they would have had a star player in that game.
I mean, to answer your question, absolutely, it probably could have been a better game, but I'm a coach. And I
Yeah.
also think that there are standards and there's accountability. And I think that the decision that coach made is commendable
Hmm.
because this is a game. But the game that we all try to play and be successful in is this game called life.
Exactly.
And I think for that is the bigger picture. That is ultimately, what's there. You win or lose, At some point, you're gonna keep on winning till you can't win no more. You're gonna come home with a trophy, or you're gonna
Yep.
lose and you're gonna come on home. Either way, you're coming home. But how are you coming home? And hopefully, at the end of the day, as a coach, I hope that I'm bringing home better people that learn from the experiences out there on the road. That we use every lesson, every opportunity, to teach our young people to be better in the game, but to also be better in life. Yeah, I mean, grant it hurts. When you look at depth, when you're talking about the swag and the MEAC, that's a reality. We don't necessarily have 10 through 14 that can, always necessarily flat out go. We do have those teams that do have those capabilities, but it's not across the board, unfortunately. And so teams, as you wear on teams in our conference, especially when you're talking about, again, I cannot minimize this, the defending national champion. You that's tough. That's
Mhm.
tough. So again, man, shout out to them. I think if I'm not mistaken, a record was set on Howard. Them girls ain't back down. The second half, they came out there and they competed.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
competed. I mean, I
Yeah.
think they scored probably. I think they said it was like the lowest points and a half in NCAA tournament history. They didn't
Right.
care.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes look, it's just like having a freshman. Sometimes you too. I hate to put it this way, but you're too ignorant to go out there and just look. It's like you don't know how good somebody else is, so you
Right.
just gonna go out there and flat out play. When them girls went in at halftime and they came back out, man, we coming to play.
They saw a
Period.
whole
Mhm.
different team.
It's 0-0.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you that's what those coaches were saying at the half. And I mean that's what winners do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So um yeah.
And for the
Yeah.
LSU and JSU game, like I told them, I was like, this is like I really looked at everything after you told me what you told me, and I really looked at everything. I really like got into it, and I was like, this is the perfect game for JSU. The
Mhm.
perfect game for JSU. They play alike almost. They love to hit mid range. They love to go down to the block, and literally like the game was decided off of free throws and turnovers.
Mhm.
That was the main killer for both teams and the three ball because LSU did not hit as many three balls as
Mhm.
JSU did, but they hit the three ball when it counted. So
Mhm.
that's the thing for LSU. And my thing was about the whole game was I was like, are they gonna show up? Are they gonna show up? And literally, like when the lead started going separating in the second quarter, I was like, oh god, here we go again. I was like, oh god. And right when she got that tech, everything changes. The whole
Mhm.
ball game changes when she got that tech. Like literally, like I don't know what happened. I don't know what she said, but she spoke life into them girls, and them girls drank some Space Jam juice and started going out there and being monsters. Started bullying people on the courts. They started to wave the crowd up, the LSU crowd up. They wanted to smoke,
Mhm.
and I love that about those girls. Like they wanted it more than LSU did, but little minor mistakes made that happen. And I know one thing I can say, like she needs to be the most paid coach in HBCU land. She need to be the highest paid coach besides Dion. She needs to be right
Mhm.
behind Dion as the highest paid coach in HBCU land because if she's not, ooh, it's
You
gonna
know
Mhm.
be
what's
some.
funny about that, Ron?
What's up?
She don't make what the lowest paid assistant at LSU make.
Not even.
Think about it.
Mhm. I know that
They
for a fact.
they need to give her a parade. She need to say,
Yeah.
"Show me the money." That's what she needs to be saying right now
Yeah.
because like she's doing it and she's basically doing this in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Mhm.
In the middle of nowhere. I can understand if you in a hot commodity place, but you in the middle of nowhere and making I ain't gonna say a franchise. I'm gonna say like for HBCU, that's a dynasty. What
Absolutely.
she's doing.
Mhm.
Like
Absolutely.
they need to
Mhm.
give her due rights. They need to give her money. They need to name the court after her, and she better be paid higher than Mo Williams. That's all I know. If Mo Williams paying higher than her, there's something going on.
I'm with you there, man. No, absolutely. And that's a big discussion too, man. Women's coaches in general.
Mhm.
and the amount of money they make, as opposed to their male figure parts, more times than not, it's more than 50% of a difference in
Wow.
Yes.
salaries, and that's crazy.
It is.
That's really crazy. It's never made sense to me, and I don't think that it ever will. It does
Mhm.
need to be changed, but Coach Reed, man, excellent job, excellent job. I cannot say it enough. Huge fan of hers, and just excited to see what's next for her and her Jackson State program. Just think that they're going to continue to do great things, man, and just blossom, man. But going back to that game, and I recall that game that I watched last night when you talked about those free throws, because those free throws big, man. Ryan, I don't know if you remember our last game together, but those free throws was our Achilles heel. And
I don't even want to think.
it was
I don't
the
even want to think
same
about it right now.
situation. Belmont versus Tennessee last night. Belmont got
Mhm.
a 67
Mhm.
66 lead at the free throw line. I'm talking about, I think, 7.8 seconds left. Knock
Yep.
these two downs. Obviously, no, it was a 3-point lead.
It
A
was a
two.
3 point.
It was a
Oh
2 point.
yeah, it was
If
two
we
point.
knocked both of them
Mhm.
down, it would have made it a
Mhm.
2-possession game.
Correct.
Man, when I tell you we went out there and bogeyed both of them, and Tennessee came down the court, man, and shot a corner pocket three, and that was all
It
she
was
wrote.
beautiful. I
Love
did see that.
love.
It was
Man, I was really rooting for really those young ladies that is on Belmont's team, Tootie Jones,
Mhm.
and the other young lady, the two guards there, they're actually from Alabama. Had the opportunity to watch them when they were in high school up in Chicago. And
Mhm.
look, they've been playing like that. And when I tell you the point guard stands every bit of 5 foot, I'm done. That's it. 5 foot. When I tell you she's
Flat.
and
Sheesh.
killing them, and has done it in the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row. And
Yeah.
so,
Mhm.
man, my heart goes out to them, man. I really wish they could have been on the victorious side of those games. But it's been a fun tournament to watch, man. I'm excited for this thing to kick back in gear this upcoming weekend.
Mhm. I was
Definitely.
actually going to ask you that, Coach. In the spirit of talking about these games, who do you think is going to get into that final four, final two drop? Where do you want both men and women? Give us both. Where you at it?
So on the women's side, I'd be remiss to not say South Carolina.
Okay.
I think South Carolina is definitely going to be there. I think Stanford is definitely going to be there. Oddly enough, man, I never in a million years would have thought this. That Iowa would have took the loss that they lost with Caitlin Clark.
Mhm.
That's crazy. I definitely had them in my Final Four. Totally messed up my bracket. It is what it is.
I
But
think everybody's bracket is messed up
Everybody
at
oh yeah,
bracket
this
messed
oh
up.
point.
yeah. At this point, oh
Nobody
yeah.
bracket right.
Yeah, it's
Nobody's
because of the
bracket is
transfer portal.
That's it's
yeah,
real, ain't it?
Yeah, we
yeah.
saw it in football how it can do wonders, and now we seeing it in basketball.
Yes, yes. Another team, man, I want to believe, and I'm going to go ahead and throw them in there. I want to believe that they're going to get there. Is Louisville. But for whatever reason, Louisville in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, the past couple of years, they've hurt me. They've hurt me real bad. But they have a great coach, a great coaching staff. Sam Purcell there, who's headed out to become the head women's basketball coach at Mississippi State. They're going to, I think that this is going to be the icing on the cake. And Sam Purcell is such a great guy that these girls are going to want to go out and really win for him before he takes off. So I see Louisville in there, Louisville, Stanford, South Carolina, and look, North Carolina State. Look here, man. North Carolina State got them homegrown South Carolina girls, them North Carolina
Mhm.
girls, and they getting
Yes,
it
sir.
done, man. They're a fun
Exactly.
team
Yeah.
to watch. They got that
Yeah.
young lady from Columbia, South Carolina, down low wearing number 41. That played, I believe, at Westwood. And hey,
Mm-hmm.
man, just to watch her growth from watching her in Atlanta and AAU travel play to where she is now competing for the Wolfpack, man, it's truly a sight to see. But North Carolina State, they're gonna get in there and they're gonna get
Yep.
some fit. So I see it being North Carolina State and Stanford and South Carolina and Louisville. And we'll see how it play out on the women's side. Now
Mhm.
on the men's side, honestly, that's more head scratchers for me.
Mhm.
Nobody has been clear, flat out dominance, if you will.
Mhm.
This is another team that has let me down over the past couple of years, but I do think that they can eclipse and potentially become the eventual champions. And I think that's the Kansas Jayhawks. You know, when you look at those
Yeah.
true powerhouses, those dynasties. And look, man, and another team, my Final Four team, though, North Carolina. What that brother's
Yeah.
done with that team, man, turn that thing around. I'm loving it.
Me
I
too.
am loving it. He's coaching those young men. They are respecting them. They're going up. I mean, it's really a nice thing to see, man. I see
Mhm.
North Carolina doing some great things. At the end, I think I do see Kansas taking it. Um, Look, you can never exclude Gonzaga. Um,
Mhm.
I tell you, they played a questionable game in their last one, man. It had me scratching my head a little bit, but they're built for this. They do
Yeah.
this every year. This is
Yeah.
nothing new to them. They almost look at these tournament games like regular season games. They play them every year, so you can't count them out. They are more times than not going to be right there in the Final Four. So Gonzaga versus Kansas. I think Kansas will get them. And then, like I said, North Carolina on the other side, man, I'm excited for them, man. I hope they get all the way there, and I hope they even victorious there. But I'll say this, man, it's good to see Kansas and North Carolina in there. We talk about on the women's side how I ain't gonna say we, because I like Gino, I love Gino. But a lot of people say, man, we don't want to see UConn in there no more. Man, we don't want to see South Carolina. It's always the same teams. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? It's been a long time since we seen Coach Self or North Carolina at that elite level. I don't know if y'all recall,
Correct.
but in our short history here, boy, the North Carolinas, the Kansases, the Dukes,
Mm-hmm.
and shout out to them. Man, it's
Yeah.
been first round outs. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
Second round
Yep.
outs. They're not even
Yep.
getting to the Sweet 16. So
I
to
was
see
just saying
those
that about
teams,
Duke for
yeah,
sure.
to see those
Mhm.
teams back, man. I wanted Illinois to do well. That was a
Mhm.
heartbreaker. But again, Kansas, North Carolina. I'm rooting for North Carolina, probably more
My
so than you.
boys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And they got, like I said, they got the brother on the sideline, man, doing his thing. And just that chemistry. If you watch their game, that chemistry between him and his players. Now he's probably the person that recruited them. Let's be real. He was on coach's staff as the recruiting coordinator and associate head coach. And so that chemistry there is different because this is the man that was in your living
Right.
room telling you what your experience is going to be at Chapel Hill. And now he has the opportunity
Talking
to
to your
lead.
mama.
Yes,
Mhm.
Mm.
absolutely. And that's everything. So,
Eat that mama food too.
well, you come over and you talk to mama, you a big deal. Period.
Right. Right. Right.
Big deal.
I kind of got the same feeling about North Carolina. Just watching them play over time. How we beat Duke.
Mhm.
And then I don't know. It's just a whole different feeling that you got once March Madness started. On top of that, what you said about NC State, one of my close friends, one of my fraternity brothers, actually, he's the DJ for North Carolina State women's
Okay.
basketball team. So he was telling me all year, man, we got a good program. We got a good team this year, man. We got a good team this year. Watch out for was it Kayla Jones and another girl he mentions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching them. I think they got a good chance of winning it all myself.
Man, they're quick. What you got,
That's
Rob? Who gonna
awesome.
win it?
So,
Man, oh, Robin, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Ryan or me?
Rob.
Cause baby, listen. Um, I am definitely on the men's side. Looking at Kansas, I've watched a couple of highlights for their games. I like the way that they play. I like the aggression that they got. I've always been one of those people that shoot for those underdog teams. But when I'm watching them, I'm not gonna lie, they deserve to be at the rank that they are. So I'm not a Baylor fan at all. Don't even give me the ass. I never was. I'm just gonna take them out. So I think definitely if I would have had a choice, looking at where we are, I would say Kansas going all the way. Now as far as their opponent, you got me on that one, dog. That's going back to what you said. It's a head scratcher because at this point, these teams are just upsetting so many people. So I think at the end of the day, whoever Kansas played, I'm just going for Kansas.
I think it's gonna be the winner of that Arizona Houston game, honestly.
Mm.
I think
Really?
that's who will end up. I mean, unless Villanova can upset the would-be winner there in that region,
Mhm.
but one of those three teams will be the one to face Kansas. I feel
Mhm.
confident in that.
Yeah. Now for the women's side, actually, I'm an LSU fan at heart, just because that's my alma mater. But I really enjoy the coaching strategies that Kim has for that team. You know, she came from Baylor. You know, we know the success that Baylor has had, and her being a very influential aspect to the LSU team. And I've been able to watch them since when I was in school there. I'm definitely rooting for them to get as far as they can in this game. Again, I'm a Go Tigers at heart. That's my heart. That's where my home is. So definitely rooting for them. I don't know if they're gonna be able to pull it out with South Carolina. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I feel like, you know, maybe they can get that shot. So go Tigers.
Robbie, you know I love you, right?
Yeah,
Hey, you better worry
yeah.
about the Buckeyes first.
Mm-mm.
Okay, listen, listen.
Mm-mm.
Hey,
Better worry
I
about
think Kim gonna get them into shape. You know what I'm saying? She knows what's up. She had a phenomenal. I don't know if you guys saw it, but she had a great speech. She was actually talking to another team from a different sport. Um, but she goes in and she had this statement to her team, and she was like, you know, at the end of the day, we understand that the competition we're going against is just as good as we are. That's not our problem. Our problem is to beat us. I
Mhm,
want to beat LSU.
mhm.
And I'm sure all the teams and other coaching staff has definitely said that. But that spoke volumes to me because we're seeing these aggressive players, these women and these men putting everything on the line. So it's not going to be a cakewalk for any of the teams, even just talking about South Carolina. Once they get down to the line, I'm sure that the team that they're going to be going against is going to give them a run for the money as well. But you know, I gotta say, I think they're gonna do it. I don't know. I love them. I love that team. I love what they've come across and how well they've been doing for themselves. So shout out to Kim and their team.
I got you. Ron, what you got?
Mhm.
And women, South Carolina all the way. I don't care.
Of
I
Ew,
don't care
course.
about nobody else.
ew.
I don't care about nobody else. South Carolina gonna win this thing. They're gonna bring it back to Columbia, South Carolina again. They're
Here
gonna
we
be
go.
hosting that trophy up down the street to the state house. They're gonna be taking selfies. Hey, we did it again. Black woman in power. You already know what it
Hmm.
is. Shoot, man, just
Ron, you want to
watch.
know something interesting, man? Last
What's
time
up?
South Carolina won the national championship, I'm proud to say I bought the very first printed University of South Carolina national championship shirt when that game was down in Dallas, Texas.
Oh
I know
wow.
Wow.
I got the first. I ain't even took the tag off it. It's still sitting in the
Hey,
closet.
that's
That's
lit.
crazy.
But growing up in South Carolina, going to Benedict College, which is right down the street from South Carolina, seeing that program grow, like she grew that program from literally her hands,
Hmm.
and literally like at first the girls was packing that stadium out more than the boys was. Like that's like literally that was the talk of the town
Yeah.
when the girls was playing. Hey, the girls playing today. Let's go watch the girls. 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 So like she already had that hype before she even won a national championship. And literally like, when you're in college town, they're celebrities. Literally, I'll see the girls literally at cookout or down the street or, literally at a bar or something. It's like, what's up, man? Literally, I'll tell them every time I see them, hey, I bet it on y'all to win. Y'all better win me some money now. If I don't, I know who the I'm. You know my face. You know me because you see me every week. I'm gonna come talk to you now. Literally joking around with him. Just talking to the athletes, talking to the coach. So I'm all in for every TV South Carolina girls. But the men's side is tough. It's tough. It's tough. Like my underdog is Michigan. He somehow, some way, he turned that thing around.
Hmm.
Hmm.
He did. I don't know how he did it, but Howard turned that thing around and he got that ball a rolling, and that locomotive train is going. But I don't
Hmm.
know this game with Villanova. That's gonna be a tough game. Um, I think probably Villanova may go out on their side, and I'm a Duke fan. It's going to be between Gonzaga and Duke. Like, whoever win that Gonzaga and Duke game, they're probably going to win the national championship. But this Coach K, last going round, them boys feel like they need to look at Jerry. I already know Jerry shaking his head. But to me,
Boys
I
ain't
already
got
know like
y'all.
Duke doesn't have they're too young. And that's what's the
Yeah.
problem with a lot of Duke teams. They are too young. They're
I
not
agree with that.
seasoned. They don't have 2 to 3 players out there that's vets. And that's my I can say that's my problem with NCAA right now is you have these guys out here competing, but they know what they're competing for, but at the end of the day, they don't know what they're competing for.
Hmm.
Because a 5th year senior out that's playing probably at Michigan, he know what he competing for. He competing for it to actually win every game and go to the championship and get that ring, and this solidifies his career going to the NBA. But those one and done players, they're just like, man, I'm just here. I'm gonna try to win. If I don't, oh well. I'm going to the NBA. So that's the problem I see with Duke. That I don't see them going either further. I don't think they're gonna go further than Sweet 16, but that's my team. I hope they do. But Gonzaga probably and Villanova.
Yeah.
I like them picks. I like them picks. I think
Hmm.
Duke is gonna struggle with Texas Tech though. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this might be their last run.
Yeah.
Their next game.
Hmm.
Just my take, man. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you got to put the shorts on, you got to lace them up, you got to play the game. But Texas Tech, man, I watched them play the other day, and they look just as good as I remember. So
Hmm.
we're gonna
Hmm.
see how we'll see how that play out because you made a really good point, Ron. A lot when you look at the Dukes, you look at the Kentuckys, it's a lot of one and dones. You don't have players that has
Hmm.
played in the system for 3 or 4 years. They very rarely, if ever, get that. So you're looking at guys, as we kind of said earlier in this show, that just came together. Now you're trying to make this thing mesh and you're trying to get this chemistry to work. A lot of times they're young minded. These are 18, 19-year-old guys right out of high school. And so that can be an obstacle in itself, especially when you're talking about going against, teams such as the Texas Techs of the world. So it'll be a good one to see, man. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't. We have to see this Texas Tech game first before I say anything more to do.
definitely,
I don't know, man. Duke, it just not as looking as I don't know, as of lately they don't look as good as they used to be. Like they look a little down, like it's a little going down season. As March Madness continues on, I just think this. I don't know. This might be their last game too.
Hmm. Absolutely. Now, we do have one more topic to talk about, Coach, and we want kind of your input on this. So, the first HBCU All Star game, which they were supposed to have, I do want to recognize that back last year it was supposed to have been in Indianapolis. But this year were able to come together and create the first All Star HBCU game. So essentially, what will happen is one team is going to be comprised of players from the MEAC and also from the CIAC, and then the other team is going to be comprised of the SWAC and CIAA. So not only is it just going to be Division One institutions, but also Division One and Two that's going to be able to showcase their talent. If you know. Talking about how wonderful this is for the HBC community, but more so for getting these recognitions for these athletes and getting them exposure. When you talk about recruiting, we're talking about for them to be able to get their exposure to NBA
Oh, I lost the mic. There we go.
yeah.
One, who do you think basically do you feel like we should look for based on this game? Some of the athletes, maybe it's from different conferences, and what do you expect can kind of do for these different schools that the athletes are coming from to be able to do this?
Mhm. So first of all, I think it's a great initiative. I do want to put that out there. One of, I guess, my concerns would be, or my drawbacks would be, is what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago we had the HBCU games up north. Um, and basically, I don't know if y'all remember the conversation a couple weeks ago, but when we talk about doing things, it's a certain way to do it and to do it in the right way. And what I don't want, and I recall saying this before we ever even knew about an HBCU All Star game. One of the things I said is that I don't want all this to get watered down.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear HBCU All Star game, and to be frankly honest with you all, it just kind of jumbled into everything else because I guess now we matter.
Mhm.
And now everybody's wanting to do something, within the HBCU communities. And it's almost like, okay, but we need some organization. We like to do things in a certain type of way.
Yeah.
But in any regard, I'm not here to tear it down. I think that it's an excellent initiative. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I don't know a whole lot about what the preparation is leading up to that game. So what that will look like, is that going to look like an NBA All-Star game
As
where
far as yeah, as far as I'm understanding, it's going to very much mirror an NBA All-Star game because they're choosing some of the competitors from the different teams, like leaders, scorers, leading defenders, things like that, and comprising of it. I'm not even sure how they even drafted the athletes on the team. From what I understand, though, I was looking through all of the different selections, and all of them are like top tier statistically for the respective teams. So it's
gotcha.
coming together.
Well, that's good. But what I mean by that is the score going to be 140 to 125?
Mm,
Because I can take 33s and ain't nobody going to defend it.
I hope
mm,
I
not.
can walk by people like it's a chair. I
yeah.
hope that's not the situation.
Mm,
Oftentimes, student athletes at the HBCUs, particularly the seniors and the grad students,
mm,
they're playing for what's next.
Mhm.
mm,
And I hope that they carry that mindset into that, so where we get some real good competitive excellence. That's going to be the biggest thing. Don't just turn it into oh man, we made it to the HBCU All-Star game. Let's have fun. Let's just throw the ball up, whatever, whatever.
right.
Make this something that people want to watch. Make this something that people feel the need to watch and put on an excellent game. I think that right there is probably one of the most important things for the future of an event like this.
Mm,
It's got to be it's got to be reputable. I mean, in the future years, you want to be able to go back and say, yeah, that's the game. I mean, it should be that thing where after every season, such as NFL lovers love the Pro Bowl,
mm,
and NBA basketball lovers love All-Star Weekend. It should be that thing that as HBCU hoops lovers, we should be looking forward to every year. And I hope that it's the type of performance that we can get that feeling or that desire to want to
Mhm.
see that every single year. So excited for those players, man. I mean, hey, this one more time to lace them up. You know
right.
what I mean? So anytime you get that and you get a platform to do it on, that's a great day. It's a great situation. But I am a little concerned. I really wish that the minds that be can really come together and let's do this thing in the right way.
Mhm,
Not just necessarily the HBCU All-Star game, but let's talk about that HBCU tournament. How can we work together to make it look like, or to make it come from almost one platform instead of 8 different entities
right.
trying to do something almost as though HBCU hoops is a charity? That I don't like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we need to come together and just look at the organization of these events moving forward, so that they can be aligned, so they can be more respectable and reputable. So that's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we kinda talked about this a little bit. Sorry, Jerry, I just wanted to make this point real quick. Last week we kinda talked about we were addressed with the NBA HBCU Classic that happened during the All-Star weekend, like the actual NBA All-Star weekend. Now that
Mhm.
was against Howard and Morgan State. Same kind of, I guess, mindset going into it is allowing these HBCU getting recognition, getting, the exposure that they need. But I guess I'm kind of sharing that same reservation with you, coach, is like, what is the overall purpose of this? Is this really giving these athletes a platform to be able to, lace up one more time, to be able to, showcase their talents and all of those things? Or is it, like you so eloquently said, like a charity case? Because I'm looking at that event and mirroring it with this event, which this event is very similar to, what NBA All Star is. So why is it necessary to have both events? And if it is, then what is the overall purpose and why do we have it? And I just kind of want to get your feedback on this. Is this something that could have been done during All Star Weekend to basically mirror image that same concept, or is it best to have it separated as it is and just continue moving it forward?
And Robert, as I said a couple months ago, it's best to have it in that HBCU week in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mm,
That's what's
mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
to make all of that inclusive, the
yeah,
three-point contest, the HBCU slam dunk contest, et cetera, et cetera. And for
yeah.
anybody watching the show that wants some ideas about how we can make that happen, my phone is always open because I'm ready to
Mm-hmm.
make it happen. And I feel like our athletes are more than deserving of that. But you said some great things in what you said. The selection process. What is that? Because this is the HBCU. What did they call the game? The games a couple weeks ago. These are those HBCU games, but you got to get teams. And no offense to neither of those teams,
Right.
none of these teams are competing for the championship in their respective conferences.
Correct.
So are you just grabbing the first two teams you see and say, "Oh, we're gonna do this," and say that we did this for HBCU?
Correct.
That's not like some former president said. I know that ain't how we do
Mhm.
things. You know what I mean? I look real, recognize real. I call it like I see it. Okay, so don't make us a charity event. That just goes back to my saying, let's make this thing good. Let's make this thing competitive excellence. Look, Texas Southern won. Norfolk. Why you couldn't have Norfolk State and North Carolina Central?
Right.
Nobody cared enough to
Yeah.
have Norfolk State and North Carolina Central. And
Correct.
that's my problem with some of what I'm seeing. But to go back to your original question, again, I think that just like the Celebration Bowl, you know what I mean? I think that they're very deserving of having that opportunity like that. Now, one thing I'm not necessarily, look, this is just me. I hope nobody don't get mad at me. Oh, HBCU world, please don't take off on me, all right?
Safe space, coach.
But nah, because I keep it real. Now I'm only
Shoot,
raising one
I'll
way.
take off
I'm
on
gonna call it
them.
like I see it. I don't want it to become a thing to where when Jackson State is winning the quote unquote HBCU tournament, that they don't have the opportunity to get a berth into the NCAA tournament. Now
Mm,
that's what I do not want to see, because that
yeah.
takes away revenue and so many other things from these institutions that are very much needed. But
Right.
I do think that there needs to be some emphasis almost into a week or a weekend, specifically for HBCU schools, and not just the SWAC and the MEAC, but the CIAA, the
Right.
CIAC. I
And
mean, those
CIAC.
schools need to be
Mm-hmm.
just as much inclusive. Too often they're left out of the conversation, and there's some very, very talented players at those schools.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jerry, because I know Jerry has something to say. Because I'm gonna
Um.
some stuff.
Yeah, just trying to piggyback off of what Coach is saying. It is kind of like they're overstepping one another, not really communicating with one another on how they want to organize the event. I think they can do a lot better with communication on that matter. Um, but I do like that we're doing something. They are doing something, so I can acknowledge that and appreciate that standpoint of where we come from.
Mm-hmm.
Amen to
Shoot,
that.
Coach, you got my gears grinding. Had my little, had my little sports management mind going. It was ticking up here. So
Here you go.
understand like what y'all are saying as far as charity case is a problem. Blah blah blah. It's good, bad at the same time. So then let's do like what these PWIs be doing in the beginning of the season. Let's go to Atlanta. Let's have 18 tournament with girls and the boys. Have it at College Park Stadium where Two Chains
Mm-hmm.
have his own basketball team at. Call it
Mm-hmm.
the College Park Classic. And we can have a shindig in Atlanta either
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the season or during December. We can just do it that way. Therefore, nobody's disqualified from the tournament. You having it during either before the season or during the middle of the season before we get into our conference play. So therefore, like we can have everything we want, and we don't hear no complaints about no NCAA, no regulations and all this. Everything is just settled, like right then and there, where everybody can go to the tournament and play.
Brian, you know what, man? Before I get off here, you bring up a really great point, because that is a reality in preseason. And I can tell you from firsthand experience. It's too often that I got the phone calls and the emails saying, come to Atlantis, which is one of the preseason tournaments, or come
Mm-hmm.
to this country, knowing good and well we ain't got no money to be traveling to no Atlantic, or Atlantis for that matter. And that's a
Switch
reality.
that IS to an A, and we could. We're
All that,
straight.
all that.
We going
Or
straight
Titanic.
to
Yeah, I
we
mean
going
that's just the
straight to the
reality of it.
ATL.
Right.
Where they sell the dro and dry the foals,
Here
and
we
that southern cooking is finger licking, and we got them rappers that be trapping. We going straight there to the 404 the college bubble sparks, and we playing this tournament, and we gonna have a good old time in Atlanta.
I
Right.
think
And
you
look,
should
I'm
just
not
make a
saying it's got to
commercial
be
though.
Atlanta. It can be Columbia. It can be
Yeah.
Montgomery. It can be Birmingham. But it needs to be somewhere in the region where most of these schools form up. When you have the Battle of the Bands, when you have all these different things, where's the venue? It's Atlanta. It's
Yeah,
the central meeting place for most of our HBCUs. Most
Yeah.
HBCUs are on the eastern region of the continental United States. I mean,
correct.
as you look out west, you have the Division II Langstons in Oklahoma. You know, you have some of
Mhm.
those schools kind of far out there, the Pine Bluffs, if you will, in Arkansas. But
Mhm.
most
Mhm.
of our schools are geographically situated in the southeastern region of the United States. So
Mhm.
why not? It makes too much sense. Where's the Celebration Bowl Hill?
Mm.
Mhm.
I digress.
In
Mhm.
the A, man, in the A, but like they just some I know. Please, if you somebody out there, and if you hear me, please send this to the SWAT office, the MEAT office, send this to 2 Chainz, send this to the mayor of Atlanta, cause she went to fam. Please call us,
Oh,
and
I
we
love
will
her.
put it on. You got
Mhm.
coach. He know every coach in the HBCU land. We will put
Mhm.
this thing on for y'all. Trust me. We gonna have a halftime show. We can have a step show, Jerry a Q. We can have the battle of the bands. Shoot. We can have gymnastics, people out there robbing, have people
Not you
flipping
put
and dipping and swinging. Shoot, what's up? And I can do the
doing the
concert. Trust
swinging.
me.
And
We
well,
gonna
at
get
the
we gonna be
halftime for the
live.
championship game only go to the champion of the Battle of the Bands. That's
Oh
whether your
Right.
school
wait.
competing or not, baby. Champion
No,
stays
that's how you
championship
do it
team.
though. That's
Yeah.
how you do it.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Uh-huh.
You
I ain't gonna
gotta
throw out there no more suggestions to the world though. Just give us a call. We'll be here.
Yeah.
Right,
We'll
because somebody
be
gonna
ready.
take this and they gonna act
Somebody
like it
gonna
was
try
their
to.
idea. No, this is actually ours. So
Right.
we need to keep
Shit,
all of this for
Okay.
trust
us.
me. I'm a go to the lawyer. Yep, pre snap
Mhm.
read right here. What day it is?
March
Yeah. March
22nd, baby.
22nd. Yeah,
Yeah.
March
that was
22nd,
us. That was
2022, baby.
us.
Documented.
So
Mhm.
Done.
so, but
Nah, for sure.
yeah, man. Shoot. Thank you, Coach K, for coming on, man. Spending your time out here. You know, he got family, he got kids. He does have other job. He does have other things to do. I appreciate you coming on here and giving us the value information that we need because you know a lot of stuff we don't know. So
Mhm.
we love to hear the insights about ins and outs, and definitely we need to hear from you from the recruiting side coming on the next couple of weeks of basketball.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I'm happy for it. Always happy and blessed to be on here with you guys, man. Excited, man. Gonna see another year around the moon tomorrow. Birthday coming up, so man, all is well, all is love, man. And
Happy
thanks for
Happy
birthday.
birthday. Happy birthday,
appreciate
coach.
you. Thank you, thank you.
I
Yes,
forgot our birthday was
sir.
around the same time, Coach.
Yeah, man. It's,
Shoot.
so man,
Thank
good
you,
people. Y'all
man.
be good, man. Have
Thank
a
Yup.
great week,
you.
man, and looking forward to talking about this recruiting. And not just recruiting
Mhm.
players, but looking forward to this recruiting the coaches.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Yes,
Shoot.
sir.
Peace out.
All right, now y'all say
All
it.
right now.
All right.
Make sure you follow the Pre-Snap Read on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe to make this page grow. I see y'all. I'm out.